let's start on today's session. So for today's session, we will learn something new called writing text files. And then we will try a mini warm-up challenge before we break out into our breakout rooms to do the actual challenge for today, which is calculation of wages. So more about writing text files. So to create a file in Python, use the open bracket, close bracket method with one of the following parameters. So what do I mean by creating like a new file? So if you want to create like a new text file with like your own words inside by using Python instead of just like typing it straight into the file itself, you can always use this method. So if you just want to create without like putting anything inside first, you use the parameter x. So this will create a file, but it will return an error if the file already exists. And then if you just want to append, you use the parameter a, and it will create a file. If the specified file does not exist, then it will just like append onto what is already written in the file. And if you want to write, you use the parameter w, and it will create a file if the specified file does not exist. If it already exists, then it will just like overwrite whatever that is already on the file itself. So let's look at an example. So for example, I want to write hello and hi in a file called myfile.txt on two separate lines. So my file would be like hello, and then next line is hi. So how I would code it would be create a variable. It can be any, you can name it however you want. So I named it f, so it's like short for file. So I named it f equals, then use open and then open bracket. And then the first thing that you put would be how you want to name your file. So I want to name my file myfile.txt, and then close apostrophe, comma, and then you choose what you want to do with it. So W means you want to write. So you can actually just put X, which is just creating without writing any words, or you can put A, which is appending words into your file. So for me, I just want to write like a completely new file, so I put W. And on the next line, I write F. So F, remember, is the variable that you created. So F dot write, open bracket, and then in the bracket, in the parentheses, you put like the string that you want to write. So I want to write hello. And then I close it. Next line, I want to write like the next line, because I want to write hello and hi on two separate lines, right? So in order to do that, you have to write this thing here that you see. It's to make sure that it's like how you press enter on your Microsoft Word to like go to the next line. So this is how you write it. And then again, next thing, I want to write hi, so I do the same thing. And remember that it's very important to close your file at the end after you're done. So how you do it is just f.close. So only after you close your file, then this file will be saved. If not, you just won't be able to find this file at all, even though you've already written whatever you want. If you don't close it, you just won't be able to find your file at all. So remember, you first open it, do whatever you want to the file, and then close it in the end. Okay, so let's try out a warm-up challenge. So firstly, I want to get an input from the user asking for the user's name, and then write hello, name of user. So for example, for me, Shermaine, I want in the file, I want it to be hello Shermaine, and I want to name the file new file.txt. So let me give you some questions to think about first. So firstly, how to get an input from the user. So how should you ask the user for the name? Secondly, how do you create a new file? Thirdly, how to create the string hello name of user. And lastly, how should you write this string into the new file? So please like take some time to think about it, and then you can write it in the chat. So you can answer the first question first. How do you get an input from the user? So let us know in the chat how you should get an input. Yep, that sounds right. Could we create a variable that asks the user what their name is? Yes. So how do you write? Oh, I see a few. Yep, so I got answers from Liz and Nada. So that is correct. So that answers your very first question. Good job. Then how about the second question? How to create a new file? I remember that you want to write in this new file. So how should you code it? Do let us know in the chat. How should you create a new file? Very good. Okay, so for Nada, do remember that you need to create a variable for your file. So you can name it file, you can name it F, anything you want. Yes. So what ML said, F equals open bracket, your file name, which is new file.txt, and then W. Very good. Good job, good job. Okay, then the third question. How do you create the string hello name of user? So the question is, how do you create the string hello name of user? Okay, so Laura, usually we will want to like put everything into a string first, and then we use the f.write. So you're kind of answering both the third and the fourth questions. So what ML said, hello string equals hello plus name. So yes, that is your third step. So that's how to create the string. And then lastly, to write this string into the new file, we write what Laura said, f.write, and then in the brackets, you can put however you named your string earlier. So if we use hello string, then you put f.write bracket hello string. And then remember what is the most important thing you should do at the end to your file in order for you to make sure that you can find your file. Yes, close your file. Very good. So let's look at the simple solution. So firstly, you create a variable called name, input what is your name. So that will get your name, your user's name. Secondly, you create a variable called f, and then you open a new file. And because you want to write it, you use W. Thirdly, you create a new variable, which is the string to write into your file, equals hello name. Next, you write whatever you want to write. So f.write bracket string to write. And most importantly, remember to close your file. So good job, everyone. All right. So with that, does anyone have any questions on the new concept that we learned today? Feel free to put it in the chat. Using write will overwrite the file. Yep. So if your file already exists, and if you use like the W parameter, it will just overwrite the file completely. So if you want to like add on to your existing file, then you'll use A instead of W. So for example, instead of W here at your second line, you use A. Does that answer your question, Nada? You need to save a copy before I use, right? As in, so the second line, when you open a new file, that helps you create the file already. So it creates a new text file for you, then you can just straight away write into it. So you don't have to manually create a file beforehand. So just writing this line of code helps you to create the file, and then you can proceed to write anything you want into the file. No problem. Does anyone else have any question? Do give me a letter B if you are doing fine. Can this be accomplished using print function? As in writing into a new file? That wouldn't work because the print function only prints out that certain string or anything onto like the platform that you're using, the IDE that you're using. So for example, if you use Google Colab and then use the print function, it just prints out on the Colab itself, but it doesn't create an entire file for you. Oh, you meant the input from user. Okay, so I think your question got answered, right? Okay, everyone else is doing fine. All right, then we will move on to the actual challenge, which is calculation of wages. So this, all right, thank you, Stephanie. Okay, so for this, because we are running this on Google Colab, and if you want to save it in your Google Drive, then you have to use these first two lines of code. If you're just using on like another IDE, such as like PyCharm, Jupyter Notebook, then you don't have to do the first two lines of code. Okay, then we move on to the main part. So you always want to create a new file. You can name it however you want, and then open it, and then choose your file path. So for me, I'm saving it in my drive, so it just goes like that. Like I just copied the path, blah, 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 blah. And then last thing is how you want to name your new file. So, and then because we want to write in this new file, we use the parameter W. So next thing we want to do is create a variable called n, and I give it a value false first. So why am I creating this variable is because I want to use it for the next part, which I will explain in a while. So I'll be using a while loop in this code so that it will keep going on and letting me enter like the employees' names, hourly wage, hours worked per day until I want to stop putting it in. So I'm using a while loop for that. So in this while loop, it only goes like in a loop when n equals to false. So that's why I created a variable n at the start and I give it a value false. So since it's false, it will start going into the loop. So I ask for the name, ask for the wage, ask for the hours. And then in order to calculate the total paid, so in this one, we ask for hours worked per day. So that's why you have to do wage times hours times the number of days. But I think in my breakout room, we did like number of hours worked in the entire month. So that one would just be wage times hours, and then you wouldn't need the number of days. So will be finding the total amount paid in a month. And then you want to create your variable, which you want to write into your file. So I name it to_write, and I put name plus the vertical line, and then plus the currency that I want to use. And then I change the total paid into a string because you can only add things that are of the same variable type. So since name is a string, this middle thing is a string, so your total paid has to be a string in order to add all of it together. Next thing is to write this new string into your file. So you use new_file.write and then to write. And then we create like a new line such that you can keep going on and on forever. Like you put each employee's name in different lines so that it wouldn't like be one entire line because that's quite messy. So that's why you do this line, and then you ask the user, do you wish to end? If the chooser uses Y, which is yes, then you assign the variable end equals to true. And when you assign n equals to true, then it goes back up and checks, oh, n is no longer false, so it doesn't go back into the loop. However, if the user chooses not to end, then your variable end would still continue to be false, and it will just keep going and going again until the user says that she wants to stop. And remember, at your last line, you need to remember the most important step, which is to close your file so that you can find your file in wherever you saved it. Is everyone okay? So, yay. Okay, so with that, I will, so sorry. Let me just share the slides. Okay, so with that, do remember to stay connected with us. Join us on our social media on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn at our handle www.codepython. And if you have any questions, you can always join our Slack channel. We will still be there to answer all your questions. And even though this marks the end of our Beginner Python Study Group series, your learning doesn't stop here, and we will continue to help you through the Slack channel. And so feel free to ask all your questions there, and we will definitely help you as long as you just ask us questions. So I think there are upcoming series coming up. Stephanie, would you like to tell them about the
Absolutely. Yeah, so we do have 2 series coming up very soon. One series starts, there's 2 actually that start this week. So we have a leak code study group where we're going to be working through some different coding challenges and how to problem solve those. That starts Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern US time. That's going to be fantastic. And we also are resuming our Python Libraries 101 series Saturday, September 25th at 10 a.m. Eastern US time, which Shermaine is one of the organizers for. So both events definitely a must attend. I have included links to the womenwhocode.com/Python, so you can sign up for all of those events, and we should be having more as well before the end of the year. So please keep coming back. Please keep seeing us.
Thank you, Stephanie. So yes, please do register for the other series and join us on Slack so that you can still continue to ask us any questions that you have. With that, this marks the end of our series, and thank you so much everyone for joining us every week. This is only possible because of you guys. So thank you so much. And thank you so much to Alwina and Poojita for volunteering and helping us with the breakout rooms. Thank you so much, you two.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having
Shermaine.
us.
Definitely. Thank you for having us.
Thank you
Great
so
session.
much.